Spread good, baby.
Do you guys do anything for Valentine's Day?
Yeah.
What do you guys do?
I don't know, actually, now that I think about it. I just talked to Katie about that yesterday. I was like, what's a restaurant you want to go to? But we're on the 6-week fitness challenge, and it ends on the 19th. So got to find something that fits our macros. But
do you guys usually celebrate by going to a restaurant?
yeah, or we've done like home cooked meals too. We like cooking together. So we'll just do something. We're together all the time, so it's like every day's Valentine's Day. Yeah, now that I think about it, yeah.
On Valentine's Day, we'll go like the weekend after or something. I just don't like how busy it is on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
expensive, and you got a tip.
Big tips.
Yeah.
But yeah, we went to Qatar one year. That was fun.
What was that?
Downtown Disney.
Oh, okay.
Restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was cool. What about you?
So I've never really been a big fan of Valentine's Day. Not that I'm anti-Valentine's Day in any way, but my parents always raised me being kind of anti-Valentine's Day because they were always like, Savi, you deserve to be cherished and treated like you're special because you are special every single day. I don't want someone to wait for a specific day to show you how much they love you. So they would always, every year on Valentine's Day, they would get me the biggest, most beautiful bouquet anyway, but it was to show that I should have certain expectations and standards, but it's just a day, and every day should be celebrated, and love should always be celebrated.
I love that. And I think that's kind of where I'm at too.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I can't name a specific Valentine's Day because I feel like we do stuff all the time.
Yeah.
It's great.
I think when you start dating someone, maybe, and that's like the first Valentine's Day, you do something with them. But if you're with someone for a long time, like you and Katie, like me and Shell, it's just every day's Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Or you try to make it every day.
Yeah.
But it is something romantic, and so there have been people I've dated who have been more similar to me with their mindset, but if someone does like the mushy stuff on Valentine's Day and having a celebratory day, I'm not fighting it either.
For
and
sure.
So I do that because I don't think love is one-sided. So
Yeah.
I love that. With that being said, what's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 38 of the Spread Good podcast. My name is Brodi Nicholas, back with Mr. Celebrate Life, celebrating love.
Yep, celebrating love, even though my team lost last night, so I'm really sad, but
He's talking
still
about the
celebrating
Lions.
love.
Yep. That was a rough one to watch.
It was rough, bro. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah,
Let's
we'll skip that point, but we are back with our good friend, Savi Win. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back. I'm excited.
We're excited because Savi's here, Macy's here, and it's almost Valentine's Day.
Yep.
I feel like it was Christmas yesterday.
New Year's. It was just your birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
January 14th, 1 month before Valentine's Day.
Oh, nice.
Now you guys can't forget.
I know, right?
Yep.
But Valentine's Day.
Yep.
Here we are again, 2024. Let's talk about love. Yeah?
Let's talk about love.
Let's talk about it.
Love is great. It's a good year for love. I actually heard that. Overall, I think 2024 is like
What makes 2024 better than the other years?
I think it's with the stars and the moon or something.
Something.
Okay.
I saw something.
Mercury's in
I
Gatorade or
think so.
something.
I really
retrograde.
don't know much about it, but hey, it's real. It's real. So it's a good year. I'm excited that it's a good year because I'm getting married this year.
Yep.
So I didn't know that.
That's a very good year for love.
Yeah. So I'm excited. But so yeah, you growing up, you were talking about your parents do something really special for you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell us more about that.
I grew up with a single mom for the majority of my life, and then at one point my mom did find a partner, and I loved watching them and the way that they loved each other. But because I grew up with my mom and just my mom for a big portion of my life, it was very consistent love, and so there wasn't anything clashing or incompatible with a different side of parenting and stuff. So I appreciate that as well, and it's always been important for her to make sure all of her kids learned that they are loved and appreciated, but also to love ourselves and to not depend on someone else either, so that everything starts within, because you can't give what you don't have within yourself. And so she probably, as a single mom, wanted that to be a very important message that we carry throughout lives, and to develop self-love and confidence and independence.
I think that's huge. That's huge because for me, I've noticed over the years when I was single, it's been a long time, but I've always been driven by the other person, right? Like pleasing them, being of value. And so when I was single, even though there were some sad times, I remember really going deep and like wanting to work on myself so much because the better I can be, the better this future relationship's going to be. And so yeah, I feel like.
Was there a turning point where you realized that you were dependent on someone else to find fulfillment and happiness and love?
Yeah, I think in high school. I was kind of a late bloomer until I didn't like party at all in high school or anything. I didn't get my first kiss till I was 17.
So cute.
Yeah, I know. But my first girlfriend, honestly, I was just so infatuated, so in love. And then like some and most high school relationships do, they end. And I remember just being so heartbroken about that. And like so wild thinking back, like at 18, just broke recycling cans. I was going to Walmart looking at promise rings. Like I was just so into it and so about like living in my hometown forever and just being this thing. And then, when that reality hit that we were not going to be together, something just switched inside of me. Fully transparent. It's actually like, I remember when she got like a new boyfriend and I remember like crying. I was like hyperventilating, crying. And I cried to my mom. I literally went to my mom and cried to her about like, she has this new guy. And I remember my mom just being so soft and almost like really understanding her side of it. She's like, that's just how life goes. Just be happy for her. It wasn't like, oh, screw her, she's horrible. And I just remember like thinking, life goes on and we just have to be the best person we can be. And now she's married with kids and I'm super happy for her and I'm happy. And I just think, there was this turning point. And I remember in that moment that like, I'm just grateful for the times that we had together and for what I've been able to grow into.
I actually really love your mom's approach on that because I feel often the people who care about us, our friends or family, are so quick to jump to that, screw her, she sucks, she's a horrible person, whatever. But I think it's actually beautiful that you guys had such a loving relationship and you think of her so highly that you could be so heartbroken over it. Mm-hmm. Whereas if she sucked, you probably wouldn't be.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. So true.
I mean, what is everyone's definition of love? For me, I grew up with a Down syndrome brother. My parents, everything in my life, if you love someone, you sacrifice. You give up yourself for that person. I gave up a lot of my childhood for my brother, for my parents. I feel like when I was younger, it was always like I have to give gifts. I have to sacrifice. I have to give myself to show love. And recently, after talking to you and all of our guests, like self-love is important. And I feel like I've started to learn that to be the best parent, to be the best husband for my family, I need to take care of myself. So, what is everyone's definition of love?
For me, I think love is not really a feeling. I think it's more of a decision that you make to continue loving, whether it's in companionship, your relationship, friendships. We all have to make the choices, both the hard and easy choices, to continue nurturing that relationship and to keep love going. Like you said, it involves a lot of sacrifice, and unconditional love is a whole nother thing too, to make those sacrifices and not have it be transactional in any way and just because you love the person. Yeah.
I feel like love takes a lot of work too. Marriage takes a lot of work. Family takes a lot of work. But we want to do it because it means a lot to us, right? So what do you think love is?
Love is so much because I think it's something that we give to so many people. Like I give love to you. I have love for my parents. I have love for Katie, and I have love for Macy. And honestly, they're all really strong loves, but they're really different. And I want to go back to real quick the decision. I think that's so cool because I was recently listening to a podcast about when you get married, a lot of people go like, "Oh, your freedom." Yeah. And we actually talked about this. We've talked about this because leading up, I've been wanting to marry Katie for a long time, but I'm also just a free person. I'm always traveling, we're always partying. And it's so wild that maybe this maturity growing up, but when I asked her to marry me, I felt no cuffs. I didn't feel like it's over. I didn't feel like a chapter's ending. It's like, I'm still free because I have such an awesome partner. She lets me be who I am. And I'm excited to go into this next chapter together. And I think love is a decision. You have to decide. But I just think the sacrifice, there's a lot of sacrifice, but I think the rewards are so beautiful and so worth it. And that's, again, I think I've learned by having different girlfriends, different relationships, different businesses, again, not just with Katie, other things, that we just learn love more and more. And I think the more I've kind of turned inward on myself, I've been able to accept love and give love better.
Absolutely. I also think that with going off of what you said about freedom and everything, I don't think love and relationships, things like marriage, should be necessarily weight added onto the scale. If anything, your partner should be a source of strength and support, and it should enhance your life. You should be more free in a way.
And that's how I feel, and that I'm just so grateful. I think that's another part of love that we're going to talk about, right? Is gratitude. Is I think, especially with social media, we see somebody gallivanting through Asia together, or somebody starting businesses, or these power couples, and it's all great. And sometimes I'll even be like, me and Katie need to hustle harder. We need to do more. But then it's like, man, I'm just grateful for a partner that is thriving in her own personal life, who loves herself so much and loves me. And like you said, lets me be my best self, because I'm just happy. It's been pretty cool.
Yeah, they call it your better half for a reason, right?
Yeah.
You should bring out the best in you.
Speaking of better half and halves, do you believe in the concept of opposites attract?
I do. Yeah. I think, we all say with anything in life, balance is key. Too much of anything can be a bad thing. I think it takes a lot of similarities for sure. But I do, at least in my personal experience, I've been very similar, but also very different from all of my partners. And so of the people I've dated, we have been opposites in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Thinking about it, I was going to say no, but Shell and I are very different. We're very similar in a lot of ways. Like we're both very hard-headed and strong personalities, but she's the more outgoing one. I'm the more quiet, shy one. So yeah, I think opposites do attract. Are you and Katie opposites? You guys are, huh?
Opposites,
yeah. You guys are opposites.
And that's what's so beautiful about it. I've been really reflecting as this wedding is getting closer and stuff. We are so opposite, but our core values are so aligned. Like, I think we are just great partners, and we actually went and traveled and visited some friends in Virginia last weekend, and just amazing couple, amazing family. And the more time we spent together, they're like opposites, in the sense, and again, no tension at all. It's just so funny how the wife was more outgoing and the husband's a little more laid back. And I was like, Katie, you're just like him. And then she's like, yeah, you're just like her. And it's like, it's funny, like how it works out. And we're just with other friends in San Diego, and it's kind of the same way.
Yeah.
And I think, again, that's part of growing and learning about love as you get older. I personally really thought I wanted another Brody. I want another loud hustler, let's go. But I'm starting to realize that could be great for people, but I could also see how that clashes hard.
That's funny that you say that, because like I said, everyone I've dated has been so different from me. And my friends are like, oh my gosh, you guys are so different. And I'm always like, well, yeah, I don't think the world needs another Savi. One Savi is plenty enough. I don't want another me.
Yeah, no, so true. And I think this concept, I've been thinking about it a lot, not just with personal relationships, but even with business.
Yep.
Even with friendships, is again, yeah, it's fun getting the 5 loud guys together, but it's also good to have the responsible guy.
You need.
Wait, so who's who in
balance.
this relationship?
He's definitely
I'm the chill one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
the chill one. But it brings out the best in me when I'm with my wife, because she's the more outgoing one. She's the more kind and soft one, and I'm just like the guy watching sports. But I feel like it's balance. It's more balanced than it is opposites, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like you were saying, you guys have similar values. I think the core values are important to be compatible together. I think if you have opposite values, and that's a really rocky foundation.
Yeah,
so we're talking about personalities.
For sure.
And then we were going to talk about affection. What were we going to talk about affection?
So I think affection is important in relationships, and something that can often be put on the back burner after you've been dating for so long, especially, or been married for so long. And so it's kind of something that we don't necessarily always prioritize, but it's always appreciated. And affection doesn't always have to be like hugs and kisses. Those are the obvious signs of affection, but things like grabbing gas on the way home so that your partner doesn't have to in the morning, or making coffee if you know that they're going to be running late. Just the little things to show that you love and care about them, or picking up their favorite snack when you're at the grocery store. Like, the little things really do add up. I think everything counts, and it's with social media and everything, and seeing those big extravagant Asia trips and having awesome business partners that are also married, stuff like that, we forget about those little things. And so if you're only waiting for those big things to happen, then nothing's going to be added. And so by doing all the little things, all the micro things, those add up too.
Wow, I felt that.
Yeah.
Because it goes back right into the gratitude, right? It's just like when you're grateful for the appreciation, you see that on both sides, it just flourishes into like an unlimited amount of abundancy.
Yep. It's being married, the only person here that's married and has a family. Sometimes it's hard for my wife and I to show affection, to go on a date, because we're so busy. But we constantly talk about like what we're trying to do for each other, what we're trying to do for our family. And I feel like just being aware of the gratitude that we have for each other and for our family, and being aware of the affection that we have for each other, I think, it really helps our relationship continue and to grow. And we're still growing, even though we've been married for 7 years, still growing. And yeah, I think our love, it's endless. And yeah, I just appreciate my wife so much. So that's all. I just appreciate you. Love you.
Love it. I love it. Do you guys date?
Yeah. So we've been trying to do a date night, but in the middle of this move, it's been hard. We try to do a date night once a month, just to get away from the family for a little bit, spend time together. And it's crazy because when we go on date night, all we do is look at pictures of our babies and talk about them. But, you know, it's always appreciated when we have those moments together. Yeah. Do you guys still go on dates?
Yeah, Katie found this thing on TikTok. I'll give credit there. A few months back about, because again, we don't have a family yet, and it's just us. So we're kind of always traveling, always having fun, always doing things. But we do get caught in the minutia of like, you know, her being at the office, me being here. And sometimes we notice like 2 or 3 weeks would go by, especially we're really into fitness, so we don't go out a lot.
Yeah.
And so she found this thing about going on a date once a month, and it has to be one indoor date, one outdoor date, and then the other person has to run it. So for instance, like if it's my outdoor date, I can't ask her, what does she want to eat? What do you guys want to do? Because that's a whole other thing, right?
Yeah.
That's so much time. So it makes the other person make decisions, which is really important. I don't think we talk about decision making as much as like we should. Yeah. Because I know even us, sometimes we're like just so nice, and we just like, even here, we'll just like,
everyone wants to
what
make everyone else happy.
What do you think? Well, I don't know. How about we wait till next week then? That's
right.
how it is.
Yeah.
That would be a great episode. I think a lot of indecision involves people pleasing, which I don't know about you guys. I definitely have people pleasing tendencies that I'm working on.
Yes, 100%. So that was really cool because, again, for me, my inner self is I'm always trying to add value, always trying to make sure you're good. So for me to just, we are going to this movie and we're eating this food, even if it's not in our macros, like we just do it and it's great. And so that's been fun. And the indoor date thing has been really cool too, because it's forced us to learn how to make different foods, watch different Netflix things, whatever it is that we usually don't spend a lot of time on intentionally.
Wait, what are your guys' love languages?
That was the next question.
I was going to talk about that, yeah. Mine is, what is mine? I know my wife's is, what is it? Physical touch and acts of service. And mine is acts of service. What is yours?
Well, before we move on, can we list all of them just so everybody knows the options?
Yeah. What are the love languages?
So
do you know?
Physical touch, words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts, and quality time.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mine's are acts of service and quality time, and Shell's are physical touch. And what was the second one that you said?
Gifts, acts of service, words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation. I need to give her more words of affirmation. I love you.
What are yours?
Mine, so my top love languages, I give a little bit differently than I receive. So mine that I like to receive are acts of service is number one, and then number two is gifts. And I'll explain that because it comes off a little funny at first for a lot of people. But for giving, I really like giving gifts and physical touch. So for me, I love giving I love the touchiness. You know, I'm in the gym, I'm very in tune with my body and everything, but in terms of receiving, I'm very picky with who touches me. Especially after COVID, I got such a guard up. I was a total germaphobe for a while. So I went from high-fiving everyone in the gym when they PR and stuff to, good job, you know? So I am a little bit picky. Or the other day I was in the elevator and it was a Saturday night, so everyone's drunk. I'm just in my sweatpants getting ready to go to the office. I was just going to program some stuff. And these girls come in wasted, and they're like, oh my God, you are so beautiful. They're a lot older than me too. They're like, you are so young and hot and everything. I love your clothes. And they're like touching me all over, grabbing my face. They're like, you are so pretty. How old are you? And I was just like,
traumatized.
But if it's my good girlfriends or something, we'll have a two bedrooms in our hotel room, and we'll sleep in the same bed just to cuddle, you know, things like that. If it's my best friend. So that's a different story. But so acts of service are my favorite to receive. I like it a lot because it's the little things that mean a lot to me. So if someone opens the door for me, I'm like, oh, or I'm a little bit shorter. If you grab a cup from the top shelf for me, oh, things like that. If you turn on the water for my bath, like, oh my gosh, thank you, things like that. Or helping me improve my golf swing or spotting me in a lift, things like that. For gifts, I don't expect anything extravagant necessarily, but it's the thoughtfulness that comes behind gifts. And I think it originates from my childhood. Like I said, my mom was a single mom for a lot of my life. And so given she was doing the best she could, she couldn't give us a lot of time because she had to work all the time. It was just, she was our only source of income as kids. And I have 3 brothers, so there were 4 of us. So she would always bring home gifts to let us know that she was thinking of us, whether it was something little or something big. A flower she picked from the garden, or my favorite toy that I've been waiting for, things like that. And so I think because it reminds me of the way my mom was able to love me in her capacity, it means a lot. And so I'm actually someone who's pretty good with not getting as much quality time, even though I do love and appreciate quality time. Of the people I've dated, they've been extremely busy, and I'm very busy too. And it's something that I easily don't take personally. So I never take offense to it. I'm very understanding and empathetic towards it. And when we do have quality time together, it means a lot because I don't get to have it all the time, but it's not something that I feel a lack from when I don't get it.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So acts of service and gifts for me.
Very cool.
Or even the gift like, I think you look so cute in this t-shirt. I'm like, well, let me wear it for you. You know?
Exactly.
What are yours?
Mine, I feel like they might have changed over time.
Yeah, they do change.
I know mine is giving gifts and acts of service. And then receiving, something I noticed a couple years ago is physical touch. There's something about it that has just evolved over time. So I like that. And then acts of service. I think, again, nothing extravagant, but just the little things. They're really important and they're really cool. So, yeah.
Something about physical touch that I've learned over time too, because everyone's different with their touch levels and I'm different with how much I want to receive between each person. Because I love physical touch, I realized I love getting like facials, massages, my nails done and stuff because they're so touchy with you, and it's like this love and care that's put into it because those are literally considered self-care things that you do. So I enjoy that a lot. So that's something that I enjoy, that's a love language, even outside of relationships too. I've improved a lot on my words of affirmation because I realized the majority of my friends, that is their top love language. That's probably the one I was freaking worst at.
Yeah,
so
same.
I'd be doing all these things for my friends or getting them gifts or making time in my calendar for them, and it wasn't hitting them that I love them the way that I do. And so it's like, man, I got my words of affirmation game. And so I got a lot better at it, and it's made me a better communicator in general too, because we touched on this earlier, but appreciation is important, and sometimes we forget to give it because we're so used to the redundancy of everyday life and like, of course I love you, you're my best friend, but sometimes they just need to hear it.
Yeah, I mean,
That's so true.
I've had to work on mine because mine is a quality time and acts of service. So that's what I like to do for my wife, but she wants words of affirmation. So I had to work on that. But I also have to remind her sometimes, like, all these little things that I do around the house for you or whatever, that's my love language to give to you. So it's just an awareness of each other's love language that has really helped us out.
And as you said that, I'm starting to realize I think I'm big on words of affirmation too, without realizing it, stemming from my childhood. Growing up, and again, I don't know where it started, but like I would say like I love you to my parents like 5 times before I go to bed. No, it's just like a thing. And I remember like them talking about it in a teacher parent conference one time. Like, yeah, he's just like really loving. And they said it back to me. So that was a thing. It's like a lot of love. I love you. I love you. And then me and Katie have that. But then, yeah, I feel like I really like hearing those nice words from friends or for that. It makes sense that it's appropriate, right? That it's like hearing like you're awesome or I don't know. It feels really good. And so that's something that I guess has always been there. I just never focused on. But as you said that, I was like, oh.
And like you said, love languages can change too. We're always growing and evolving. And in my family, we weren't necessarily the most touchy, huggy, kissy people ever, but especially because my mom wasn't home often. And then I grew up with boys. And so it was more like pushing each other around than giving each other hugs. And so, but that dynamic, even though we're all grown up, we're all adults and everything, it has changed a lot because we have my niece now. So my brother just had the first baby in the family about 2 years ago. Her birthday is February 20th. She'll be turning 2. And so since then, we realized we don't want her to grow up in a household where it's physical touch isn't prioritized. And so things like suppressing emotions, physical touch, all those things, we've made it a point to grow within ourselves and do that for each other as a model to the little one.
That's
so now
really
I hug my brother every time I see him. I always say I love you when I leave. We never part ways without doing that. And it's important, which is something that we never did in our childhood, but as adults, we're doing it for their childhood.
Yeah, I mean, with my kids, I hug them all the time, tell them I love them all the time, maybe because I felt like I didn't have enough of that when I was a child. But yeah, I think it's so important to give your children all the love that they can have. And I'm pretty sure when they grow up, their love languages will be physical touch and words of affirmation, because that's what I keep giving them as much as possible. So I just think it's interesting how when we're children, we have a certain love language, and then when we're adults, it changes.
Yeah, I have an uncle that ever since I was little to this day, I love you all the time, like just over the top. And coming from my mom's side of the family, like we don't really say that. So it was really my dad's side, I think, that we got that from. And obviously me and my mom, she's given that love. But yeah, my mom's side, we don't really say I love you when we leave somewhere from a party or a family event. But this one uncle, every time on the phone, in person, just I love you. A very intentional, direct, and it just doesn't, he never misses that goodbye, right? And then I learned about him and more. And growing up, he was like a pro amateur boxer. And, you know, my mom there was 8 kids in the house, and they were really busy, and the parents were always working, my grandparents. And even though my grandparents did what they could, they worked and kept food on the table, he didn't hear I love you a lot, and his dad wasn't able to go to his boxing matches. So that was something I think he made a choice as a kid. When I grow up, I'm going to give so much love to my kid. I'm going to be there all the time. But also, I think it's really cool. He doesn't just give it to his kids. He gives it to all of us. And so, yeah, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's really awesome that he did that. I think being around kids is very healing. It heals your inner child in which you're loving them the way that you wish that you were loved, and you're raising them the way that you wish you were raised in a lot of ways. And then you also get to do all those things with them. Having the experience of doing those things with them that you didn't get to do heals yourself too.
And I just think what's really cool about him is he says it no matter what. Because I'll be honest, like a lot of my cousins, it's kind of awkward. Like nobody wants to say I love you, but but he says it. You don't have to say it back, but he says it. And so that's something I'm trying to get better at too, because I really do feel love for a lot of people. But sometimes it's like physical touch. You don't know when it's appropriate. You don't want to be weird. But it's like, I have a lot of love to give. So I'm going to just let people know more. And
be weird.
Yeah, I know, right?
Make it weird.
Yeah. Too much people pleasing. You don't need to people please all the time. Just do what you want to do. Show your love. People will appreciate it eventually.
Yeah, but of course, practice boundaries.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So yeah, with the physical touch thing, I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about how he's a really big entrepreneur, he's really successful, and his thing is physical touch. But he's like, it has to be appropriate and has to have a time and place for it. Yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on that? Because it's so true. Because even though I like physical touch, I really don't give physical touch to a lot of people because it's just, I don't know, the world we're in. I don't want to be the weirdo, you know, but it really is like, when do you know? Have you guys had experiences like?
It's a hard one. My friend, one of my best friends, Eve, her long-term boyfriend grew up wrestling, jiu-jitsu, all kinds of martial arts, and so he really doesn't like being touched because it kind of puts him in a fight mode. And so like who's touching me? Do I need to hit you? And so he doesn't like being touched, but she loves physical touch. So they've had to find boundaries that respect both of each other's needs for sure. And so it is interesting when you put that combination together.
Yeah, I don't really like physical touch. I'm kind of similar to that guy. I played a lot of sports, so if someone touches me, I feel like I need to push them or something. And my wife loves physical touch, so we've had to find a balance. But I don't touch people because I don't know how it's going to come off. I'm good.
Yeah, no, I feel that. But I have been around your friends, your childhood friends.
Oh, yeah.
And you guys slapping each other's asses, hopping on top of each other.
It's like,
so that's what I'm saying.
Sports,
so
and we already know each other, so it's fine. We touch each other like weirdos, but other people, strangers, I'm not getting close to anybody.
For sure, yeah.
How do you feel if a stranger came up to you and not anything inappropriate, but if someone grabbed your shoulder while they were like, "Oh, where'd you get that T-shirt? It looks dope. Where can I get one?"
No, see, now I feel like the weirdo. I feel that love and like, oh, you're noticing my shirt and this is cool. And
but if they were to touch you like that, you're
like while they're talking to you.
Yeah, I like it. Other than yeah, see, no, I'm not gonna talk about it because I'm weird. No, I do like that. But yeah, when we're out and some drunk guy like hangs on me and spits in my face while he's talking to me because he likes my shirt. Yeah,
feels
maybe
love.
I try to be accepting of that as much as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. But most of the time, I'm pretty accepting of it. And again, just like, yeah, I guess I like touch.
You like it.
Yeah. I mean,
There's
don't just
nothing wrong
go
with it.
touching me for no reason. But you know, if there's a time and place, or especially like a deep conversation, it's like I feel you. Like I said, I feel weird touching you right now. But if somebody did like, yo, man, I feel you. Like I like appreciate that and I accept that. And I don't know, maybe I'm weird.
See, he's learning his boundaries with you.
Yeah,
He's
see?
understanding your love.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. No.
But now I know.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm good. There you go.
All right. But before we move on from appreciation, something I learned recently, and I'm really, really dialed and intentional about this, is being a better listener. I'm just going to say this because I feel like a lot of people say that I'm a people person. But I think as I've grown in a people person, I'm such a fast talker. I'm loud. And even though I'm intentional, sometimes especially when we're drinking or when I'll leave situations with like anxiety because like sometimes, man, I just talked about myself that whole time. Do you know what I mean? No, seriously. Like, or I just got so hyped because people are asking about Spread Good Squad or the clothes. I just gave them everything they needed. And it's like, I wish I was a little more like interested instead of interesting, you know? And so I feel like it's really important to be a better listener, especially in your relationship with your partner, but also with just the world. And so that's something, again, because I am an intentional person. I do care. I do hurt when I'm not like my best self for people. So that's something I'm trying to get better at because even with Katie, she'll be telling me about something she learned or this and that, and I'll be offline sometimes. So instead, I think the old me would have just kind of like gone with it and figured it out. And now we have this last few months, I'll just tell her, I'm so sorry, can you please repeat that? Just very direct, and she understands now instead of getting mad because like I do tune out because I'm thinking about this clothing project and then this other podcast while she's telling me something she cares about. And I just have to be honest that I just really want to get better at listening. And yeah,
That's fascinating. I actually would have never guessed that because you're such a good interviewer.
See, exactly. And so that's why I had to really look at myself. And like, again, there's always ways to improve because I feel like maybe to the outside world, and maybe I'm just really hard on myself. But I really do want to get better at intentionally listening and connecting with people, not just letting people talk because it's an interview. It's just like really feeling that, reflecting on that, and having a conversation we're both going to remember after this.
Speaking of being hard on yourself, when do you guys feel that it is appropriate and inappropriate to be hard on yourself? Because there are pros and cons to both for sure.
Yeah, I feel like I'm always hard on myself. So sometimes I'll I want to tell myself to relax and I don't have to be so hard on myself. But yeah, trying to find that balance is hard.
Do you think in a way that it is also very helpful too? Because I'm sure it has influenced a lot of who you are today and the kind of entrepreneur you are too.
Yeah, definitely. I think being hard on ourselves keeps us improving. Like just listening to you talk about being a better listener. Like I want to be a better interviewer. I feel like I'm a really good listener and I hear people and I remember what they say, but then I'm not a great talker. Like I don't tell them what I feel. I just listen to them. But yeah, I think I don't even remember what I was talking about now.
Listening?
Yeah, listening. Yeah. No.
Talking
being hard on myself. Yeah. Being hard on myself is like, I think it's led up to all this stuff that we have, but sometimes gotta relax and just appreciate what we have.
Yeah, it's interesting how it's both loving and unloving towards yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's such a difficult thing to find balance in, because it's something you do have to practice over and over. So kind of like how things like obesity are very difficult to overcome because food is something you have to eat every day. You're going through it every day. If you have an addiction to it, it's a struggle. Whereas things like drugs, I think, is extremely difficult too, but that's something that you cut off completely if you want to become sober. If you have an addiction to food, you cannot cut food off. And so kind of like with being hard on ourselves, there are a lot of forms of being hard on ourselves that are highly beneficial, appropriate, loving, positive, but then with it comes the negative aspects when you're never meeting your own expectations, your impossible expectations.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I think we're both really hard on ourselves. But yeah, we've been learning, especially through this podcast, to give ourselves grace and try to figure it out.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, is giving ourselves grace, but also keeping that boundary and that balance. Because I feel like, yeah, if I didn't care, I would just keep talking fast and not listening, right? But it's like, but then also just letting go of past mistakes or just like a lot of things. I was listening to this podcast with Lucy Hale, and she was talking about like, sometimes you think something's so bad in the past and you hold that, and then life moves on. People, you got to just right your wrongs. And again, the things I'm talking about aren't even big deals. It's just like internal battles, right? Internal shames or being hard on yourself. But you just got to let it go and move on and just be that better person you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting how simple the thought of knowing what is and isn't in your control and what to focus on. So you want to focus on what's in your control, let go of what's not in your control. It seems so simple, but it's extremely hard to do.
Control your controllables. My high school baseball coach, that was his thing. And it makes sense. And that's when I think we've given ourselves grace, because we've run into situations where it's just like, this just fucking sucks.
But we can't do it.
But we can't control it. And what a saying I came up with like 15 years ago is like, unless we're going to jail or dying, it's just not that bad. And we've had to remind ourselves about that because we care so much about what people think of us. We care to please people. And sometimes like the cards just fell differently. This launch isn't going to go the way we thought, or this video isn't going to come out on this date, or, and it's like, we're just doing our best while we have other lives going on, you know? So yeah, I've found a lot of peace, especially again, the last couple of months. And I think, Nick and I on this podcast, but even off camera, just holding each other accountable, but also just giving ourselves grace.
Yeah, it's all part of our personal growth. But yeah, I'm just thinking like yesterday I was hard on myself because I had this goal to run 100 miles this month, and I wanted to hit it yesterday, but I didn't hit it because we had to leave for a party, and I was mad at myself. But then, yeah, I can just hit it today. Why am I gonna spend my time and energy being mad at myself or hard on myself? Just have a good day with my family. So it's hard to figure out where that balance comes in.
A situation like that is something I personally struggle with a lot, between the things like grace and being hard on yourself, because for me, I usually lean more on the side of being very logical about things. So if something negative happened and it's out of our control, like, okay, at the end of the day, it happened, we got to move on. And so in my eyes, it's much more efficient to accept it and move past it than to sit there and dwell on the things that are uncontrollable. But at the same time, I've learned that I also shouldn't avoid feelings, and there are times where it is appropriate to sit there and dwell a little bit and go through those feelings and emotions because you get so much growth out of that too. So for me, my ideal reaction is to be optimistic about things, but it is important to not only be optimistic, prioritize efficiency. I think it's also very important to be in tune with your emotions, feel things, and let yourself move through things instead of just jumping over them.
Yeah. Sometimes it's good to be hard on yourself and just think about how you can improve, I guess.
So do you guys have somebody that you talk to about when you're dealing with internal battles? Like, is there like one person you go to, or like, do you guys go to therapy? Is there anything, or do you guys kind of just handle things on your own as they come?
I used to go to therapy once a week. Now it's more of a once a month thing, but for a couple years it was once a week, and then for the past couple years it's been once a month. But I do have certain friends that I go to for certain things. So just like how I'm not an expert at everything, I am an expert at what I'm an expert at. So ask me about fitness, but if you ask me about the science behind cooking, even though I love cooking, I think I'm a pretty good cook. I wouldn't say I'm a chef level and know the nitty-gritty breakdown of everything. So for certain friends, even though we're all involved in all these different aspects, I'll go to the person I trust on that specific topic.
I like that.
Yeah, I have a lot of like childhood friends. I talk to them about everything. I definitely talk to my wife about everything. My cousin, Jason, I talk to him about a lot of stuff. I feel like, yeah, I just try to talk to everyone about everything that I'm going through because, you know, I've gone through therapy, and my wife goes to therapy, and I think it helps just talking about things. Like, let's just talk about this and figure out how I feel, how you feel, how we can make things better. So, do you have someone you go to?
Katie is a big one, but I've even been like just open and transparent with her because she's said like, oh, I should try therapy too because it's just nice having like a fully unbiased opinion. So I'll be honest, I haven't gone yet, but it's something that I think I want to try doing this year. Even though things are really great right now, it's just nice to have, because sometimes, you know, when you talk about situations, you really do need like an unbiased opinion because I don't want Katie to think something about this person because I'm going to tell her this, or and same thing with friends. I don't want to break any friend groups up. You know, sometimes I just need to vent about something or unpack something. And so I've been doing that internally my whole life, but I definitely think therapy is valuable.
Therapy is really valuable. We did marriage therapy for a while, and it gave us time to talk about something with a person who has an unbiased opinion. Because, you know, we'll talk about things, but it's like before we sleep or in the middle of the kids running around. But we would have that hour with this person who would just tell us what they think. And then my wife and I could talk to each other. And I think it was very, very valuable.
Have you guys ever gotten to a point of bottling everything up to the point where it explodes?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And my thing, it's really not, like when it explodes, it's more just me fully deflating. Like I'll just be out for the count. And that's happened for sure a few times.
Yeah. I think I try not to bottle things up because when I was younger, I had a cousin who bottled things up like a lot, and he punched the wall at our house, and there's this huge hole. And every time I look at that, and I look at that wall still, like I visit my childhood home, I see it, and I'm like, I can't bottle things up like that. Because even he explained to us, like, he couldn't talk to anyone. He bottled everything up. You know, being in a Filipino family, we don't really talk about emotions. You're not supposed to before. So, yeah, I try to remind myself not to bottle things up. Do you do that?
I used to, but it's funny that I mentioned my mom now that I'm older and I've been out of the house for so long. But I think I really admire about her, like you said, in certain cultures, you don't talk about emotions. You do bottle things up, and that's what's looked as more appropriate in a lot of ways. But as time has gone on and we've found different things more important, my mom's been really good about changing the way she parents us, even though we're all adults now, because she came from that culture as well, being Vietnamese, and now she's seen so many benefits and growth from understanding our emotions and not burying them, that she's emphasized how important it is for us to do that now with our partners, with our families, And so I think I used to do that a lot more. And as of lately, for the past years, I've been a lot better about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool. I hope I can be half as good of a parent as her, but she's always growing and developing and owning up to the things that she wish she did differently, but understands that all she can do is make those changes now. And so I hope that I treat myself and the people around me like that.
That's awesome. I mean, I know your parents, my parents. I feel like we have really good parents. Mm-hmm. Our parents are evolving. They've evolved. As a child, my parents were always working, so I wasn't with them a lot, but they sacrificed everything for me, and now I see like they're still growing, like how you were saying your mom has grown. So I think that's awesome.
And that's so amazing too, because growing up in their cultures, it's probably a lot easier to take the more stubborn route and be stuck in their ways, but they're choosing to be different and choosing to continue being role models.
Yeah. I always think about how my parents had it, like coming over here from the Philippines, always working, not being able to be with the family all the time. That's why, like I tell you all the time, I just want to be home with the kids while they're still kids. I want to spend as much time as possible with them. And I think we're blessed in our time that we can do that, right? Mm-hmm.
That's interesting how your favorite love languages are the ones that you didn't receive. And then for me on my end, my favorite love languages are the ones that I did receive.
Yeah, that is interesting. I wonder why it's that way. Your love languages were things that you did not receive?
No, because
that you did receive.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh. I guess I'm the weird one on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, interesting.
Yeah. Well, my wife's love languages are the ones that she did not receive. When she was a child, she felt like she didn't have enough physical touch and words of affirmation. So that's why that's what she wants to receive. So, yeah, that's interesting. Different.
That is so interesting.
Yeah, now I'm just, wow.
Yeah.
I don't have the education to psychoanalyze it enough, but I'm just like, wow, interesting.
But like,
it's just interesting. Yeah.
Very cool. But yeah, a lot of love with Valentine's Day coming up. But again, every day feels like Valentine's Day. Do you feel like your love languages are the same with the partner you're with romantically? Obviously, wife, fiance, your boyfriend. Do you think it differs from people you do business with, your friends?
I think it is different. I think because it is different, I've grown in each area too, in which I don't need a lot of words of affirmation, but I definitely appreciate them a lot more because I've worked on giving it better. Mm-hmm. And so I think that has influenced it a lot. And then amongst like business partners and stuff like that, it taught me to get better at all of the love languages. So similar to how I know my friends need words of affirmation, it's kind of like how that saying goes, you can say something, but that doesn't mean you'll be heard. And so if I want to be heard, I have to appeal to the way people are going to hear and see me.
Yeah, I think, I have no idea. I have no idea I'm a people pleaser, so I just try to do whatever I think the person really wants me to do.
Right, but what about accepting, because like your love languages are?
Quality time and acts of service.
So that's what you really appreciate when Shell gives you, right?
Yeah.
So for me, if I gave you that, is that the same, or do you want something different from me or from your friends?
Yeah, I think it is the same actually, because I do appreciate people giving me quality time, like going to dinner or whatever. Like I appreciate that. Like if someone gives me an hour out of their day, like I love them for that. So yeah, I guess it is similar. Is yours similar?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So all right, we're starting to psychoanalyze all this, all the data.
There you go.
No, that's cool.
I'll send you guys my invoice for therapy.
I know, right?
Well, I think the most important thing is self-love, right? And you talked about that last time. Self-love, self-discipline. Yeah, I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I think in order to best love the people around you, you have to love yourself, because you can't give what you don't have within yourself. And taking care of yourself is a form of loving the person you care about too, because for you to best show up. You need to do all the little things that matter, like eating well, taking care of your fitness, making sure you're good within yourself before you can make sure anyone else is good. And so I think loving yourself is so important for so many reasons, but it's also one of the best ways you can love others.
100%.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And again, I'll just go back into it as a romantic partner, but also just as a friend, as a business partner. I've realized like when I am not well, I can't be well for any part of my life. And so having those boundaries, that balance, and just focusing on myself might seem selfish for a bit. It's necessary because it goes back to that whole airplane thing. You know, you got to put your mask on first, which it took me my whole life until recently to understand that concept, because I'm such a people first person. And I still think I am at the core of it. And I think that's important. But again, having that balance of, if I'm not well, there's no air for anybody.
Yeah. And with that, you need self-discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Well, can you explain your definition of self-discipline as self-love?
Yeah, I think self-discipline is the greatest form of self-love that you could give yourself, because it means showing up even when you don't want to. So kind of like the sacrifice that we talk about when it comes to unconditional love, the same thing goes for you and yourself. And because it all starts with ourselves, we have to give that to ourselves.
I love that.
So true. We have this thing, Katie and I started, called non-negotiables. Mm-hmm. So, and this is going to sound super small compared to like love and everything, but it's like making sure all the dishes are done every single night. You know, making sure the dining room table is actually a dining room table, because when I work from home, it's looking like crazy. I got papers and laptops and everything all over it. And then like just things for ourselves, like finishing our gallon of water, you know, getting our workout in, doing these things that, I'm not going to lie, most times it'll be like 11:30 at night and I still have 3 of the things and I could easily just go to sleep. But staying up for another hour and doing the things, it feels so good. And again, the next day starts off even better because I'm not going to be scrambling, meal prepping, putting these protein shakes together when they're all done already the night before.
It's such a good habit to develop too, because we can't rely on those things like motivation. So kind of like when you're cleaning up your desk that's supposed to be a dining table, you might be cleaning up for a little bit, but you've made such a mess, you're like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna push this off until tomorrow. But because you've developed the self-discipline of, I don't care if I want to do it or not, I am tired, but what is 15 more minutes of my time? And so then you get used to that is your expectation, and then it's more normal to finish those things than to not finish those things.
So true. And it goes back to how I talked about when I was single. I really wanted to better myself so I could be the best partner. I was just talking to Katie about this 2 days ago. We were in the mall. We had our engagement shoot, and I had to go get a shirt. And I was just not about it. I was so tired. And it just hit me, random thought, like, man, when I have kids, I'm this tired. Like, what am I going to do? And then I know it's a simple thing, but I just did it. And I didn't even tell her about it until after we got home from the mall. But I told her, I was like blacked out tired. I was so tired, but you just do it, right? And it feels good. Then I got the shirt and we had the most amazing engagement shoot and it was great. And I wasn't all mad at the mall. I just did it. And I'm starting to realize, again, there's times that are harder than others. That was just a trip to the mall. But I think, when you just choose to take that 15 minutes to do the dishes or do something to better yourself, my thing is like reading and stretching as well. I think, reading and stretching might not relate to my future child, but I think it does, because having those disciplines and habits, I'm going to be more prepared and more ready to love them when they're here.
I think it's a lot like working out, in which you're putting in these reps to build strength over time and what it's going to mean later, and not necessarily in that moment. So that rep hurts, it sucks, it's shaky, it's hurting my ego a little bit, but it's what's going to get me to the next rep, the heavier rep, and forever on. And so by practicing discipline with putting your tiredness aside and thinking about your future kids and everything, you're becoming more and more used to doing that, especially when push comes to shove and when you guys do have kids.
For sure. And with that being said, I'm wearing this new shirt.
I love it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Can I see the back of it?
Yeah. Let's check it out. So, this is our newest collab. When's this coming out?
For Valentine's Day.
So, we have teamed up with Savi for her first ever merchandise line.
Yes.
Right? We were so inspired the last time she was on the pod by how she talked about self-love being self-discipline. So we got the new merch. It's coming out Valentine's Day. So all you partners, get these for your partners. It's going to be great.
Some matching pump covers, hoodies.
Super
Wear
excited.
it to the gym, wear it out. I love these a lot because self-love and self-discipline do go so hand in hand. And so we got an arrow pointing at both of them. And for the month of love, this is how we decide to celebrate. So from a bunch of people who don't really celebrate Valentine's Day,
This is how we celebrate.
it's important to celebrate love every day.
Yep.
So true. Couldn't agree more. So if you have that special someone, doesn't have to be your romantic partner, your friend, your family member, anybody, get one of these hoodies or shirts. They're limited edition, so they will not be on the site forever. And let's keep spreading good. Thank you so much for hopping on.
Yeah, I'm excited for people to get this and for it to serve as a little reminder to anyone who needs to practice self-love more, or even just remind themselves that the practice is forever. It doesn't stop. So even when you get to a good point, you got to keep putting in those reps so that squat always looks good.
I love it. I love it. And I think today was so beautiful because Savi just came in to do a couple promo things and we started talking off cam. And I was like, we gotta record this. Let's jump on.
Impromptu episode.
And I think those are the best.
Yep.
It's just a real conversation.
Yeah. This is great therapy. Send us your invoice.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Oh man, I needed that.
Yeah.
But until then, make sure you check out the merch line. So excited for it. Follow Savi. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and
Touch the bell.
touch it just once, maybe twice.
Don't be weird. Just touch it normally.
Yeah. Our channel is accepting of physical touch. So touch that button for us.
Yeah.
And comment how you share
What's your love language?
Yeah, what's your love language? How do you like to receive love? We'd love to hear about it.
Yep.
All right, guys. Till next time. Spread good, baby.
Peace.